heavily armed former student killed 3 young children and 3 staff in what appeared to be a carefully planned attack at a private elementary school in Nashville on Monday, before being shot dead by police. Police named the suspect as 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who the officer later said identified as transgender. Armed with at least 2 assault rifles and a handgun, Hale entered the Covenant School, a Christian academy, from a side entrance, allegedly shooting through a door, firing multiple shots while advancing through the building, according to police. President Joe Biden described the latest shooting as sick and said gun violence was ripping the soul of this nation, as he urged Congress to pass a ban on the assault weapons often used in mass shootings. But the issue of gun violence in the United States has been a long-standing and contentious topic, deeply embedded in the country's cultural and political landscape. The 2 major political parties, the Democrats and Republicans, hold different views on how to address this issue, with the debate often centering on the interpretation of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution protects the right to keep and bear arms. It was ratified on December 15, 1791, along with 9 other articles of the Bill of Rights. It is highly polarizing and controversial because it was proposed to allow the creation of civilian forces that can counteract a tyrannical federal government. It is worded as a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. In simple terms, the Second Amendment suggests that American citizens have the right to own and carry firearms for the purpose of maintaining a well-regulated militia and ensuring the security of the nation. However, the precise interpretation of this amendment has been a subject of ongoing debate, particularly regarding the extent of individual rights to own and carry firearms and the government's authority to regulate them. The gun issue in the United States is deeply rooted in the political divide between Democrats and Republicans. While Democrats generally advocate for stricter gun control measures to reduce the prevalence of firearms and curb gun violence, Republicans argue that such measures infringe upon the constitutional right to bear arms and emphasize alternative solutions, such as addressing mental health and bolstering security measures. Let's look at both the stands in detail. But guns are not just an American problem, so before we understand the stances, let's look at some gun violence data first. According to data of Amnesty International, more than 500 people die every day from gun violence worldwide. 44% of all homicides globally involve gun violence. An estimated 2,000 people are injured by gunshots every single day. At least 2 million people are living with firearm injuries around the globe. According to Amnesty International, among wealthier, developed countries, the USA is an outlier when it comes to firearm violence. US governments have allowed gun violence to become a human rights crisis. Wide access to firearms and loose regulations lead to unchecked gun violence in America. There have been 129 mass shootings, defined as incidents in which 4 or more people were shot or killed, so far this year, according to data from the Gun Violence Archive. More than 39,000 men, women and children being killed with guns each year in the USA. On average, more than 360 people in the USA are shot every day and survive, at least long enough to get to a hospital. In 2017, some 39,773 died from gunshot injuries, an average of nearly 109 people each day. Per capita, this is significantly higher than in other industrialized countries. The USA lacks measures such as a national firearm registry, and individuals can lawfully carry concealed firearms in public in every state in the USA and can lawfully openly carry firearms in public in most states. However, there is no nationwide uniformity in laws governing the carrying of firearms in public, and in some states there are no laws at all. 12 states allow individuals to carry concealed weapons in public without any license or permit, and 30 states allow the open carrying of a handgun in public without any license or permit. In only 7 states are people required to provide a credible justification or demonstrated need to carry a concealed firearm. All 50 states and Washington, D.C., allow for some form of concealed carrying of firearms in public. This is why there is a gun culture in USA. Now let's understand where the 2 major political parties stand on this issue. Firstly, the Democratic Party's stance on gun violence. The Democratic Party generally advocates for stricter gun control measures to curb gun violence. They argue that the high rate of firearm-related deaths and injuries in the United States is directly linked to easy access to guns and lax regulations. The Democratic stance on gun violence includes comprehensive background checks. Democrats support requiring background checks for all gun sales, including those at gun shows and online transactions, to prevent firearms from falling into the hands of criminals and those with mental health issues. Assault weapons ban. Many Democrats support a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, believing that these firearms contribute to the severity of mass shootings and have no legitimate civilian use. Red flag laws. Democrats often advocate for red flag laws, which allow family members or law enforcement to petition a court to temporarily remove firearms from individuals deemed to be at risk of harming themselves or others. Closing the Charleston loophole. Democrats seek to close the loophole that allows gun sales to proceed without a completed background check if the check takes longer than 3 business days. And now let's look at the Republican Party's stance on gun violence. The Republican Party typically opposes strict gun control measures, arguing that they infringe upon the constitutional right to bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment. They believe that responsible gun ownership is a fundamental aspect of American culture and individual freedom. The Republican stance on gun violence includes focus on mental health. Republicans argue that addressing mental health issues is a more effective way to reduce gun violence than implementing restrictive gun control measures. Armed security in schools. In response to school shootings, many Republicans advocate for increasing the presence of armed security personnel or allowing trained teachers to carry firearms on school grounds. Concealed carry reciprocity. Republicans often support national concealed carry reciprocity, which would allow individuals with a concealed carry permit in one state to legally carry their firearm in any other state. Opposition to an assault weapons ban. Many Republicans oppose a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, asserting that such measures infringe on Second Amendment rights and do not effectively prevent gun violence. As the debate continues, it remains to be seen what approach will ultimately prove most effective in reducing gun violence while preserving the rights and freedoms enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. Biden's calls for Congress to reinstate the national ban on assault rifles, which existed from 1994 to 2004, has run up against opposition from Republicans, who are staunch defenders of the constitutional right to bear arms and have had a narrow majority in the House of Representatives since January. The deadlock in Washington has come despite the public uproar over high-profile massacres such as the 2018 murder of 14 students and 3 staff members in Parkland, Florida fueled a nationwide movement, led by young people, to demand stricter gun controls, but failed to spur significant action in Congress. Also remember, America has profited greatly with the gun trade. There are 8 million new small arms and up to 15 billion rounds of ammunition produced each year. The small arms trade is worth an estimated $8.5 billion per year. The firearms industry in the United States is a significant contributor to the national economy. According to the National Shooting Sports Foundation's NSSF Firearm and Ammunition Industry Economic Impact Report, the firearms and ammunition industry contributed over $63 billion to the U.S. economy in 2020. The industry is responsible for approximately 342,330 full-time equivalent jobs in the United States. The report also estimates that the total taxes paid by the industry, including business taxes, sales taxes, and excise taxes, amounted to over $7 billion in 2020. It is a catch-22 situation for America, to choose life and security or to choose perceived freedom and profit. Meanwhile, the children keep paying the price as they are sitting ducks for psychopaths and murderers.